26 will provide another data point, is to make events that really matter. And to make events that really matter, you certainly have to have the most competitive golf you can get with the best players you can get.
You weren't afraid to skip some signature events this year. Do you see yourself possibly skipping some in the future just because the schedule is going to turn out that way?
Yeah, I'll always choose the schedule that best fits me. And this year that meant skipping a few signature events.
So Rory McIlroy's been noticing what Tiger Woods and this new NFL CEO are doing to the PGA Tour. And he's starting to ask questions that are making people uncomfortable. Tiger helped hire Brian Rolapp as CEO back in June, and now the guy's talking about cutting the tour schedule basically in half. And before you think this is just normal business stuff, let me tell you what's actually happening here. Rolap comes from the NFL, where he was chief media and business officer for 22 years. He negotiated all those massive TV deals with Amazon, Netflix, and the other networks worth over $100 billion. Tiger Woods was on the search committee that picked him, along with Adam Scott and Arthur Blank, who owns the Atlanta Falcons. So Tiger helped choose this guy, who immediately creates something called the Future Competition Committee.
Today, a future competition committee that would review the entire competitive model of the tour. You said you want significant change. You said it's a holistic process.
I think we want to be aggressive. I think we don't want the change to be incremental. We want it to be holistic, and we want to do it as soon as we can.
Which basically means they're redesigning professional golf from scratch. The proposals coming out are pretty wild. They're talking about starting the season after the Super Bowl, so around mid-February instead of January. They want to cut the schedule to maybe 20 events total, down from the current 40-plus tournaments. No fall season at all, so September through November would just be dead for professional golf. Harris English leaked this stuff at the RSM Classic, and when reporters asked Rolap about it, he didn't deny anything. He just called them concepts being discussed, which in corporate speak usually means it's already decided. See, the thing about Rolap is he's been pretty open about not knowing golf. In his intro letter to fans, he literally wrote, "I come from the National Football League, so I'll be the first to admit I've got a lot to learn about golf."
I'm coming into this job with a blank sheet of paper. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, but I think I'm going to learn and listen to our partners, listen to our players, listen to all of our stakeholders. That's agenda item number one.
But that hasn't stopped him from immediately starting to change everything, which is interesting timing. Meanwhile, Rory tried to get back on the PGA Tour policy board earlier this year. Webb Simpson was going to give up his seat for him. But other board members blocked it, said they were uncomfortable with Rory coming back. According to multiple reports from Golf Digest and The Telegraph, Tiger was one of the votes against letting Rory back on the board. And that matters because Tiger and Rory were supposed to be partners in this. They started TMRW Sports together that's worth $500 million now. So now you've got Rory on the outside while Tiger and Rolap are on the inside making these massive changes. Rory's response has been interesting to watch. He told Telegraph Sport he's cutting his PGA Tour schedule next year.
Yeah, I'll always choose the schedule that best fits me, and this year that meant skipping a few signature events. I might skip less next year. I might skip the same amount, I don't know, but it's all just, the luxury of being a PGA Tour player is we are free to pick and choose our schedule for the most part, and I took advantage of that this year, and I'll continue to take advantage of that for as long as I can.
He's skipping events like the Cognizant Classic, the Valero Texas Open, and the RBC Heritage. At the Australian Open last week, Rory said shortening the schedule could actually help international golf, and fans would get behind it. But that sounds like he's trying to be diplomatic, because the changes go way deeper than just fewer events. Rolap's got this whole philosophy about golf that's different from how the sport's always worked. He comes from the NFL, where you have 17 games and every single one matters. His exact words were, "Everyone has this premise that a tournament only matters if one or two players are in it, but there's no data that supports that." He pointed to the FedEx St. Jude event that got 5 or 6 million viewers for a playoff between Justin Rose and JJ Spawn, even with Rory absent. So the guy running the PGA Tour is saying Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy don't actually move the needle, which is a hell of a thing to say. The timing makes it complicated. Jay Monahan announced he's stepping down as commissioner at the end of 2026.
I informed our boards that upon completing a decade as commissioner, I would step down from my role at the end of 2026. Since then, we've been working together to identify a leader who can build on our momentum and develop a process that ensures a smooth transition. We found exactly the right leader in Brian Rolapp, and I'm excited to support him as his transition from the NFL into the new role leading the PGA Tour.
So Monahan's still technically in charge, but Rolap's already making moves as CEO of both PGA Tour Inc. and PGA Tour Enterprises. In October, Rolap brought in 2 of his NFL buddies. Dhruv Prasad became Chief Commercial Officer, and Paul Hicks became Executive Vice President. These are guys who worked with him at the NFL for years, so he's importing that whole system to golf. Rolap keeps saying stuff like, the sports business is not that complicated when he talks to media. He said, you get the product right, you get the right partners, your fans will reward you with their time. That's how you talk about football or basketball, not a sport that's been around for 500 years. He also said, we're going to honor tradition, but we will not be overly bound by it, which means everything about golf is negotiable. The money side is important here. Strategic Sports Group invested $1.5 billion in PGA Tour Enterprises last year. These are billionaire team owners, like John Henry from the Red Sox, and they want returns on their investment. The PGA Tour makes about $1.5 billion in revenue, while the NFL makes $18 billion. So you can see why they want changes.
And to bring this man in, who is a key component of the National Football League, to the PGA Tour, I think elevates the PGA Tour to an entirely different level, a global level. And that's what he brings to the table.
Tiger's been supportive publicly. He said, Brian's appointment is a win for players and fans, and talked about fresh perspective from the NFL. But Rory's doing something different. He's been having conversations with both Jay Monahan and Yasir Al-Rumayyan from the Saudi PIF. Al-Rumayyan runs the Saudi Wealth Fund that backs LIV Golf, and Rory's positioning himself as someone who sees another path forward. At the Australian Open, he talked about being a European player and wanting to be the most successful European of all time. That's Rory saying he's got options. He doesn't need the PGA Tour if it becomes something he doesn't recognize. The practical impact would be huge for regular tour players. Hundreds of guys make their living from those 40-plus events. If you cut to 20 events, that's half the opportunities to make money gone, just like that.
There were 38 events on the tour schedule for 26. That doesn't include the fall. It includes 4 weeks where you're playing 2 events concurrently. That seems a little bit closer to saturation than scarcity.
Sponsors have multi-year contracts with tournaments that might not exist anymore. And cities have built tourism around hosting PGA Tour events. No January golf means no Hawaii swing. No fall golf means no wraparound season. Starting after the Super Bowl means golf concedes the first 6 weeks of the year to football. The West Coast swing with Pebble Beach and Phoenix would have to completely change or disappear. Rory made an interesting comparison to the Good Friday Agreement from Northern Ireland. He said, Catholics weren't happy, Protestants weren't happy, but it brought peace.
You know, Catholics weren't happy, Protestants weren't happy, but it brought peace. And if that's the, and then you just sort of learn to live with whatever has been negotiated, right?
He's saying golf might need that kind of deal where nobody's happy, but everyone can live with it. Except here's the thing. This isn't actually a compromise at all. It's just the NFL model getting forced onto golf by guys who admit they don't even understand how golf works yet. And while all this redesigning is going on, the whole Saudi situation is still just hanging there unresolved. They've been negotiating with the Saudi PIF for over 2 years now, and still nothing's finalized. Rory said the other day, "I think I would have heard if there was a deal," which tells you everything. They're nowhere close. Without even knowing if the LIV players are coming back. John Rahm, Bryson, DeChambeau, Brooks, Koepka. All those guys might stay separate forever for all we know.
Like, I hate it. Like, I hope it goes away, and I would fully expect that it does. And I think that's where the distinction here is. This is the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and the PIF. Very different from LIV. All I've tried to do is protect what the PGA Tour is and what the PGA Tour stands for.
Saying they were destroying the sport by splitting it up. Now he's backing a plan that cuts the tour schedule in half, which is basically doing the same damage from the inside. When Rory was asked about the board situation, he said something interesting. "I think we might see the future of golf a little bit differently." That's Rory being polite. What he's really saying is, Tiger and I are on completely different pages about where this sport should go. Even Lucas Glover came out and said he was very pleased with Rolap getting hired, and Glover usually hates everything management does. When your biggest critics start agreeing with leadership decisions, that tells you something major is about to change. The other player directors are all going along with this too. Patrick Cantlay, Adam Scott, Jordan Spieth, they're all on that board. But you don't hear any of them raising concerns publicly. They're all staying quiet while these massive changes get pushed through. Rolap sent out this open letter to fans where he said, "I cannot wait to meet every one of our players and better understand the needs of our partners." Which sounds great.
I'm going to learn and listen to our partners, listen to our players, listen to all of our stakeholders. That's agenda item number one.
Except he's already redesigning everything before he's done any of that listening, before he's even met most of the players. The TV money is really what's driving all this. The tour's current deals with CBS, ESPN, and Golf Channel run through 2030. Those contracts bring in about $700 million a year, which sounds good until you realize the NFL pulls in $10 billion annually from TV. So you can see why Rolap wants to make golf more like football, concentrate the star power, make every event feel bigger. But here's what they're missing. Golf has never been football, and it works because it's different. It's always been an individual sport where 150 guys show up every week trying to make a living, not 32 teams playing once a week. And now he's the one helping tear down the very system that made him the greatest player ever, which makes zero sense.
Tiger Woods is one that he's going to be the loudest voice in that room. There's 2 SSG members in that room as well. So look at the makeup of this committee and look at what they're trying to accomplish. You're right, it's going to be sweeping. Yeah.
When Rory talks about being a European player and wanting to focus more on the European Tour, that's not just random talk. He's already preparing for a future where the PGA Tour isn't the center of professional golf anymore, where maybe Europe becomes the place to play. So here's where we're at. Tiger Woods helped hire an NFL executive to completely gut the tour he spent 3 decades dominating. Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy, the guy who defended that same tour harder than anybody when LIV came calling, now he's stuck on the outside watching it all fall apart. Rolap keeps saying, "I'm going to focus on what I can control," and talks about how the PGA Tour has the best golfers in the world. But if you cut the schedule in half and change the entire structure of how tournaments work, is it even the PGA Tour anymore, or something completely different? That's the question Rory keeps raising while Tiger and Rolap push forward with their master plan, and so far nobody's got a real answer. These 2 guys were supposed to save professional golf together. They literally started a business together to protect the sport. Now, they're on opposite sides of the biggest fight in golf, all because Tiger chose to back an NFL guy who doesn't even know golf over his actual partner who's been in the trenches with him.